I'm Tim West. I'm here to talk about InfoSec. I'm a security consultant at a really cool shop. You should check them out. Nobody has a laptop out. That's surprising. I guess one guy does in the back, or two people. Okay. Usually, most of you guys don't pay attention to anything because you don't have a laptop in front of you. That good myself. So this is basically just a conversation. I have some slides just to give you the idea that I prepared for this, and there was some actual work done prior. So it's the jacket, basically the same thing. What do you guys know about InfoSec? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. You raised your hand.
What about it?
Public key cryptography.
Public key cryptography. Way to throw out. That's awesome. Public key cryptography. Anybody want to? What does the wiki article for that say? Anybody?
Basically, it's an encryption algorithm.
Okay. All right. We'll lay off cryptography. Now, basically, so I don't even care what the company I work for. It's an amazing company. I'm not here to sell you my company. This is probably a better slide. So I'm here to talk about InfoSec for you guys because, quite frankly, I think most of you guys, when I talk to you, I'm an alum of the university. I graduated about 6 years, something like that, a year ago. I've been a part of the mentor program through the Alumni Association, and for the most part, I got a great question. How many of you guys have a job lined up after you graduate? There's one, public key cryptography guy. That is, I would have guessed that, by the way. Kudos to you. Who else? Anybody else employed gainfully? Yes. Scottrade is a great place to work. Good for you. All right, where are you going to go?
Well, I think it says anybody employed.
No, gainfully employed after they graduate in their career. Where are you going?
Actually, I already work there, just in part-time capacity. I work at Sprite Digital in St. Louis.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, so what about the rest of you? Where are you guys going to go?
Graduate school. Want to
What's up?
Want to go to Boeing.
Bowling? Okay. Anybody else?
I want to work for CAOS.
Savas? They're moving out of town, but that's not a bad gig. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody has an idea? Yeah, the reason why there's the big lost sign out here, not because I really think you guys are lost, but because when I was a student, even when I was a senior, I sure as hell had no idea where I was going. So, most people in this room, who has ever considered InfoSec as a gig? Okay, 1, 2, 3, kinda-ish. You're sketchy, I know why. Anybody else? Anybody? So InfoSec is actually by far the fastest growing IT job, minus a few small pockets, but the amount of jobs, we have a negative unemployment rate right now. Period. Well, I just left Express Scripts. Anybody heard of Express Scripts? Yeah. I had 3 open positions at all time that I could not fill because they're literally not people who are qualified to work, or do the work. The problem is there's just not a lot of guys like you who are that interested in going into InfoSec, quite frankly. It's much sexier to be a developer. People want to talk about mobile crap or the cloud or other, CS fields. And InfoSec is probably like number 5 on most people's list. So my intent was hopefully just to kind of have a conversation with you guys about what it is and why it's cool and why you should consider it and what does it possibly mean for you. So, that was quick. We buzzed through like 5 slides. So what's it all about? Anybody? The correct answer is none of these and all of these. All right, so the people on the top left, right, they're government agencies, vendors, software people. They're trying to sell you or give you some, credible belief with security. There's a gratuitous Wordle. Everybody use Wordle? Anybody? Anybody filled a slide on a PowerPoint with Wordle before? You guys are in CS and you guys haven't used Wordle?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
They will now.
Anybody know what Wordle is? Somebody tell somebody what Wordle is. You.
It basically takes a bunch of articles and search. It makes a word cloud.
Yeah, so it's a word cloud. You can throw just flat text in it. It'll basically by frequency of word, it'll create this cloud for you. The bigger the word, the bigger the frequency of that cloud text. And then on the bottom, the people on the bottom, those are the bad guys, or the entertainment of the week. And who's heard of Anonymous and LulzSec? Who has not heard of Anonymous or LulzSec? You, sir, what is your role here? Okay. All right, Anonymous and LulzSec. All right, so a hacktivist is somebody who has an agenda and will use hacking to fulfill that agenda, right? So, I mean, the Sony PlayStation outage, anybody recall the Sony PlayStation outage last year?
Yeah.
That was due to Anonymous and Lulsec. And if I had my other PC, I would throw up. Did anybody go to the non-ops, any of those sites? Anybody? Anybody?
I did one.
Yeah? What, did you find anything cool there about Sony?
I find a lot of cool stuff there.
Anything you want to share?
A lot of plain text passwords.
Well, that's true. Lots of plain text passwords, but there was also a lot of like Sony security architecture, kind of their network diagrams. I don't have those on these PC, but those are fun to look at. More gratuitous pictures. So, I'm basically going to go around because these people, and I'm talking about jobs and people, why not tell you about people who are employed? So, people have a really bad sense of the word hacker. It's been abused, and people don't, people think it is a derogatory word, and most people who are in the industry, all of these people, let me make a point, hold on. Yes, all of these people are gainfully employed doing information security, and except WAS. Everybody know who WAS is? Yeah. But these are all actual security researchers or security guys. Some of them work at Accuvant. What? Julian Assange? Yeah. Yeah, journalist. InfoSec journalist. It sort of works. Kevin Paulson from Wired. You guys know who Kevin Paulson is? We're going to go around the circle here. This is just kind of give you the around the horn for what you can do at InfoSec. But the idea is, when I look around at you guys, and I see a bunch of guys with t-shirts and hats on, these people don't look that far away, and these guys are very well gainfully employed, make a good bit of cash, and have a very interesting career. So, at the top left, Moxie, Marlinspike, Moxie, anybody heard of Moxie? Moxie's awesome. Cloudcracker.com, you can send him some DES packets if you've been doing some Wi-Fi cracking. And for the low price of $7, he will, he has some GPUs that he will rent you on the cloud so you can crack somebody's Wi-Fi signal. That's his most recent talk. He did that at Black Hat this year. That's a really cool thing. So that's middle left, orange guy. Bottom left, Eric Millam. He's the guy. Anybody heard of Ettercrack? Ettercat? Sorry, easy creds? No? No? Everybody heard of arc poisoning? Raise your hand if you know what arc poisoning is. We need to talk later. Anybody? What is arc poisoning?
It's whenever you purposely fill the caches that supply you the ARP request response behavior. You just put something that leads you completely somewhere else.
Okay. Pretty good close. You got something else to say that?
No.
Arc poisoning? Okay. I'm going to finish this up with a bunch of security topics. Oh,
Did you say that was called ARP poisoning?
ARP.
ARP.
Oh,
Irish
ARP
Resolution
Protocol.
Protocol.
Yeah. Okay. President.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember from my Cisco stuff. Oh. It's at
Gainfully
one
employed
point.
one.
It's
You're
at
out.
one point.
I got so much time.
If I remember,
So much
isn't
time.
it something where somebody's actually on your network, but they basically mess with the router to where the router doesn't think they're on the network anymore? Or is it the
It's not
opposite?
really a DOS technique, but you kind of DOS somebody out of it. You got anything different?
No, I
We're all
don't.
pretty
It's a data link layer. You're talking about the bridges not knowing to what MAC address to talk to. You're
Yeah.
talking about the hop to hop. You're not talking
Yeah.
about
Redirecting.
But what's that's the ARP protocol, arc poisoning is.
it's the intent to mess up that
Okay, I'll
that
give you-
address and that memory storage because they're learning it.
Give somebody some bad references so that it incorporates them into its tables. And then when anybody else goes to look for that particular thing, then they're redirected to wherever you
Right.
sent them.
There we go.
So you
There's
did
intent.
this
I just wanted to add
someone
intent to
else's
the
data.
conversation. Right, so it's a man in the middle attack. That's what it is. That's what I was looking for.
Using legitimate servers.
Right. And ARP is just an insecure protocol in and of itself. The guy on the bottom left, Eric, is a developer and a network pen tester who created EtherCap, which is a great tool, easy tool to use, where you basically talk to which router you want, tell them what the gateway is, tell them who the victim is, and it'll all do all the poisoning for you. So that's a pretty cool project. The guy to the right with the big dome, anybody know who that guy is? Charlie Miller? Ever heard of Charlie Miller? Guy who first hacked Apple? Ever heard of the Apple batteries blowing up? Ever heard of that one? Okay. Guy made about 50 grand every year for the last 3 years just returning the Apple bugs. That's not even his job, that's just for fun. Actually, it kind of is his job, but that's actually a fun thing. Anybody in hardware? Anybody into hardware? Tell me more about that.
Well, I'm just just computer hardware.
What other kind of hardware would we be talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you want to like?
I'm just saying, do you do any hardware? You build stuff? You do anything for fun? Other than your
Just
own
mess around
PC?
with small little.
Like Arduino stuff? Anything?
Unfortunately, I haven't gotten my hands on it.
Okay, all right.
You tinker around with a little bit of Arduino.
That's cool. That's cool. Anyway, Stephen Ridley, the guy in black and white, he does ARM processors. He basically does a lot of tracking in ARM. So all those old devices that are now running on ARM processors, this guy has ODE for ARM processors. The really nerdy guy with the red shirt on, that's Dan Kaminsky. That guy basically found a bunch of bugs in DNS, right? So we're kind of going around the horn. The intent of this is to actually tell you, just kind of brief you into some different topics about InfoSec and give you some people who are actually employed in this. Kevin Poulsen, anybody heard of Kevin Poulsen? Okay. All right.
Robert Polson.
Okay. And you probably don't know the guy above him with the beanie on. That's Kimo Alonso. That guy did this amazing hack this year. Anybody use anonymous proxies? Anonymous web proxies. Shameful. Anybody else? Anonymous web proxies? Yeah, don't ever use it. So basically, he did a talk at Black Hat and DEF CON this year. He set up an anonymous proxy. In about the first 6 hours, 5,000 people were routing through it just by throwing himself up on some public trackers. He injected some malicious Java code into every single person's GET requests. And therefore, he created a botnet of about 5,000 people in under 24 hours. The intent of that is just to show you that anonymous proxies can be very evil and you have no idea what it is. And there's some false thought of security on the internet that if you want to anonymize your traffic, you should go through a proxy. But that only works if you actually trust that proxy. So go buy a proxy, get a server in Libya, route all your traffic through that, and that will make you secure. But don't do it just through,
The Navy put out a really nice tool for free.
The Navy. I would definitely route all my traffic through the Navy.
No, it uses localized.
Oh yeah, like Tor?
Forget what.
Okay, look it up, look it up. Everybody knows the Bradley Manning thing, right? That's a gratuitous. No, Bradley Manning? WikiLeaks? WikiLeaks, please not. Okay, cool. Cool. And then free Kevin Mitnick. Guy went to jail for hacking, first guy ever went to jail publicly. Well-known hacker, arrested. You guys should read up on this. I'm surprised. Most cute. So up there is Woz, because Woz and Kevin are big friends, and that's a picture of. Basically, people used to think Kevin Mitnick could control computers with his mind, because hackers are so clouded in scrutiny, and people have no idea what computer science is. That he could do that sort of thing. But no. So all these people are actually either researchers, penetration testers, analysts, journalists, hardware guys, software developers, social engineers. Kevin Mitnick, social engineer. Have you heard of social engineering? Yeah. All right. All right. If not, we have to talk about them. So, as opposed to just interesting pictures and captions, what does this really mean? So, all of you, no matter what job you go into in computer science, are going to have to deal with security, right? Somebody who doesn't want to go, who knows that they want to go into something other than security? What do you want to go into?
Right now I'm doing web development, but the eventual goal is to do application development.
Okay, all right. So, web development. I mean, actually, that's a pretty easy answer right there. Like cross-site scripting attacks, SQL injection, things that are bad to your websites. Most hacks are. So there's no doubt that you will have to live with security as a web developer or an app developer. Anybody else? Anybody else? Sir.
App developing and software developing.
Okay, same thing, right? You're gonna have to do the same sort of security. Did you say app development? Yeah. Anybody other than app development? Do anything other than apps? No IEEE guys? No electrical engineers? Okay.
But I am interested in InfoSec, so.
Yeah, it applies because I mean, ARP, right? Somebody designed the protocol ARP, which sucks, and will forever be implicit allowed for ARP with. So people who are going to create stuff like that are always going to have to be thinking about that because it's a contextual flaw in that protocol. So yeah, if you're a network infrastructure guy, maybe a network guy, maybe build networks, do network stuff. Yeah, yeah. So you got to know OSI model. Everybody know what the OSI model is. You have to understand that we're all security flaws in there, how to manage that. Hardware, that's a little more esoteric if you're going to talk about hardware, but there's a lot of good work in hardware right now for hardware hacking. And just the security that's implicit to embedded design, all the stuff that goes on with smart grids right now, all the stuff where electrical companies are going after wireless networks and sub-gigahertz channels, all that stuff. Anybody heard of the big Puerto Rico hack? No?
We're from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys know anybody who's done that?
No, but.
No, of course not. No. No. What is it? Tell me about it.
You see, you're talking about the electric company having
Yeah, yeah.
an issue with it, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that we don't regulate things very properly. That's where I think the issue is.
What is the issue? I don't think anybody else knows what the heck the issue is.
See, we don't our stuff is not privatized. It's government controlled in terms of electricity and utilities.
Right.
And the thing is that people that work there are useless.
Okay. All right, so you're talking about just generalities around the situation.
Right.
The situation is they rolled out smart grids in Puerto Rico. Basically, your meter is no longer read by a human being. It's read by basically some wireless control access point that reads some signal, right? In Puerto Rico, they have this really awesome flaw where the optical reader runs by an optical light. That's the input-output method on the device, right? If you have a box that's outside all the time, can't USB jack into it because it's going to get dirty as shit. So optical reader, great I/O function on a box, right? Well, the firmware that managed the authentication for that protocol that was doing the wireless reader had some default creds in the clear. So if you just sniffed basically anything that was going on that route, you could get a root level access to the box. People realized that you could do that, and then they built these nice little cool kits, and guys were selling for $500. They would come to your house, point an optical reader up to your wireless, smart grid reader, and hack your reader so that you get about 25, maybe 50%, depending on how much you gave them, a discount on your power until they came around and fixed it. So that was the hack, and that's actually they estimated some tens of millions of dollars of loss associated with that over the course of the next 5 years because of people doing that. So, I mean, that's a really good example of somebody doing something stupid in hardware, not really thinking about it, what the malicious use, what the threat could be, and, it created a whole little underground industry. And operating systems, you guys all, that's just simple stupid. So what jobs are in InfoSec, right? There's a lot of different jobs.
Just security auditor, stress testing systems, things like that.
Yeah.
Penetration testing.
Those exist. You know what penetration testing is?
Did some
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't have my card with me, but if I did, you have one. Penetration testing is breaking into stuff, right? It's basically people get paid a lot of money to break into stuff. It's a fantastic job. I work with 100 other guys that do it, and people will just get paid to break into anything. How do you know something's secure, right? If you think about a bank, people actually pay people to break into banks, right? Same thing with technology. People will pay you to break into technology to see what actual flaws exist. And there's a lot of charlatans and really bad people that don't know how they're doing that do this work, so it's still a work in progress. It's a fairly new industry. So anybody can say, I'm a hacker, I'm a penetration tester. But the reality is there are some extremely smart people who have done some wonderful stuff. There's a methodology around it. But penetration testing, you can basically test anything, and that's under the bullet technical assessments, right? Anything you want to talk about. Websites, you can crawl websites. Anybody use Burp? Have you used Burp before? I'll buy a drink, whatever kind.
Isn't that sort of like a proxy thing? I think a friend of mine actually used that to route all the traffic on his iPod through his laptop and hacked high scores that were being sent off to Apple's or an application servers.
It does have a proxy function, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also a web crawler and a bunch of other cool stuff. It's a web application, it's not that cool. But yeah, so technical assessments. You could do assessments for anything. Security actually as an industry, and I sort of came at you guys from the most technical, granular level at it as opposed to giving you the boring, why this exists in a corporate sense, and why the government pays for it, blah, blah, blah. Because as computer science majors, you'll probably be doing something that's a little more hands-on. and probably more interesting. But risk management is actually the field I work in, which is all the stuff around corporations and governments and why they try to secure environments and networks and applications and systems. What is a risk and what matters to an organization. And then there's the audit and compliance work that's done by big four people, everybody, KPMG, Deloitte, those folks, auditors, right? Guys, yeah. And unfortunately, that work has to exist. Those are basically checkbox people. They walk around and they say, "Do you have passwords? And are they 8 characters?" And you check a box and say, "Yes, I have passwords." They don't really understand what the hell cryptography is, and, bit strength and entropy along with password, but they just kind of know you have passwords. And hobbyists, ear junkie, people who get into this stuff for fun, right? So I do a lot of fun stuff that is, for personal edification and professional development, understands security. And most people in IT, one way, shape, or form, have some sort of thing like this. Jailbreaking your iPhone is the most easy, enthusiast way to get into this sort of thing, understanding it. So I just kind of talked around the subject for a while. There's a lot more to InfoSec. One of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about, just kind of generally throw into your heads, was the fact that what you do in computer science relates extremely to the fact of being a good security person. So, for instance, right, understanding the stack and understanding basically how memory allocation is done in an operating system and multiple operating systems is a huge piece of understanding how to abuse that, right? So if you're talking about heap spraying or smashing the stack or other cool stuff, it all comes down to understanding those base fundamentals, so paying attention to that, whatever OS type class you guys have. I don't really know what the curriculum is, but that may seem like esoteric, boring crap if you just want to be an app developer guy. You'd be surprised. I've talked to app guys and they really have no idea what TCP/IP is, other than I know it sets a session back to that database, and then I render that shit, and there's Ajax, and it's awesome, and it's good, and the websites, it's there, but I know there's some, that's really, and it's not a bad thing. That's not to hate on developers, but it's the same thing with network guys. They have no idea, they couldn't, write hello world in a code if they wanted to. That's because we all specialize in IT, but for whatever field or function you're in, there is a security component that you actually need to be pretty proficient in to understand. Right? So when you're talking about code, how memory buffer overflows and such, this is all pretty much like stable stuff you need to understand. It's like this. When I went to school for business and management, did a bunch of other crap. And you think that there's a bunch of courses and classwork that you just like, I'm never going to use this crap, and you just kind of pass through it, and maybe you get a B, maybe you get better, maybe you get worse. At the end of the day, you don't think you're going to ever, this stuff's never going to happen to you again. And the reality is, somewhere in your life, especially computer science, everything's integrated now. There's really no slacking off in computer science. Right? I don't know what topic you can think sucks that you're going to just sleep on, but there is quite a few things that if you have any desire to be an InfoSec, there's no good InfoSec guy that has no idea about databases. You just can't say, I skipped databases, I really have no idea what that means or what it does, other than storage data, right? So it's a really, InfoSec, I will be the guy who, because it's my opinion, will say that you have to be good at everything and understand everything to really know how to secure a network, because a network is just a hugely integrated piece of compute technology, right? Everything from all 7 layers wraps up into something that can be used and broken. So, it's fairly important that I think you guys kind of get that. I don't know if I really deliver that message well enough, but I do think that it's pretty tough for anybody to be good at InfoSec without paying a hell of a lot of attention and spending their time doing this stuff. So they might hack on the side or do anything interesting with computers that, they want to share. It doesn't have to be illegal. Just the fact that you just break stuff.
Jailbreak. It's been our last project discussion.
Oh yeah? Is it like a
Operating system.
Oh yeah? Cool. Is that with the Circ? That's awesome. What are you guys doing, like on a Windows XP box or?
Linux.
Oh, okay, cool.
What's becoming
Okay. You guys know what smashing the stack is? You guys want to explain it?
Basically, in your frame space for each process, we just did it within the one process. So you could
the frame space will allocate it in such a way that all your main variables and your instructions are in a wrapper around a sub-function. So the simple way to do it would be to change, well, the project was change where the function return. And you could actually skip items of code, execute arbitrary things of code. And so you would write over, say, a char buffer, and write out of the frame space for that function, and actually change the value for your program counter, the pointer where that function returns. And so it would go jump lines of code, and you would say skip the assigning of variables, or you could actually change something depending on your function return. And yeah, that's technically skip, right?
Right. Go check out Google Corlan, C-O-R-E-L-A-N. It's got a huge amount of exploit development stuff that's free and online. If you like that kind of stuff.
Mihan Corlan?
Peter something or other. He's Dutch.
C-O-R-L-A-N.
Yeah. Anybody interested in this stuff?
I think the biggest question a lot of guys have, and I've been asked this by someone, is where really to begin, where to start, where to get, good base knowledge and build up from that. Me personally, for the past about year and a half, information security has been in my top two. It was at my top one hardcore last year. And so me personally, what I did is, we don't really have a networking class here. We really kind of get a good network. We have one class, but you can't take it till you're senior and it's elective, so you might even not have the opportunity to take it. So one thing that I did is just to get a base knowledge of networking is I enrolled myself last year into the community college here at SWIC. They have the Cisco Networking Academy.
Right.
So where you basically take a year-long worth of courses. It's basically 2 classes in the fall, 2 classes in the spring, and they basically set you up to where you get your CCNA.
Okay.
So I use that as a part to where I would get a base knowledge of just networking.
Right.
And then if you continue, they actually teach the Cisco class on security, but you would need your CCNA first. And that was kind of where I thought would get a base knowledge of just getting me to a job where I can learn networking and then go from there. So a lot of these guys have a question is, where do I begin? Where do I start? What's something that
so you can start with whatever. So I'm going to give you an ambiguous, and I'll give you more detail next. So you can start with whatever interests you in computer science, right? If you're an app dev guy, go download Verb, and man, there's so many awesome tutorials on how to use Verb. You'll be amazed at basically finding every sort of web app vuln you can possibly find is open source, right? You can do that. If you're into networking, EtherCap is a great way to start. Wireless hacking, basically go do all the word routing stuff. Just get into word routing. All right. Let me do a timeout here on disclaimer for legal and ethics. Okay. So big disclaimer. I'm on camera, right? So do not ever do anything, even if you don't understand it or know it, that you believe is unethical or illegal. There's the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. There's the Patriot Act that has multiple provisions about legal means for abusing computer networks. There's state and local laws. So, how do you do this ethically? If you want a ward drive, build your own network and ward drive it. Everybody can buy a Linksys 54RG, WRT 54GS for like $12 on eBay. Go buy that thing, throw it in, wet mode, and crack the shit out of it. It's free. You can do it. It works, right? You can ward drive yourself. If you want to do web app stuff, burn your own site, right? Host something, it's your own, put it in the cloud for EC2, it'll cost you like pennies on the dollar. Just blow the hell up out of that site. Don't do it on eBay. That's a bad idea. That will get you in jail. Okay? So yeah, there's lots of laws about this. Everybody who I pointed up there does this stuff legally and ethically. We don't hack into things unless we have authorized access to do so. Somebody told us to do, and in fact has written on paper that we have the legal right to write into stuff. Anytime, there are actually many people and many anonymous. Multiple guys are in jail now because they decided that they wanted to get a little too happy on IRC, right? So don't do it. There's plenty of ways to do this ethically and legally, right? I do most of my hacking on multiple VMs that I have. I got an actual home network. I got 16 gigs of RAM. I got 3 or 4 VMs. Crack some crappy old VM. You can download exploitable VMs, right? Easy. So there's pretty much every single variant of hacking that you want to do, you can do it legally without doing something. Okay. All right. Thus ends my soapbox on the ethics and information security. Please refer back to it if you ever have any ideas with it. All right. So back to how to what are you interested in, right? OS stuff, right? There's exploits. Metasploit. Have you heard of Metasploit? Metasploit. Open source. Everything I'm telling you about is open source, right? I'm not going to tell you something to buy because you guys are going to buy it. You're going to get for it anyway. Go get Metasploit. Metasploit is basically the open source pluggable framework for putting in exploit for different tools, right? So there's, I don't even know how many exploits are in Metasploit right now, but basically like I can load up my box, it's got Metasploit on it, I see a Windows XP Service Pack 1, anybody know anything about Service Pack 1, Service Pack 2 or 3, anybody know about this? No? Alright, you may learn this, you should learn this, right? Microsoft stopped supporting up to 1 and 2 Service Packs, it's not tapped anymore, so there's some cool vulns in those that just sit there, right? So like MSO 8064, even if it is a more recent version of XP, that's a RPC buffer overflow vuln that you can use. Basically, you can target something, it's opening on a certain port, you can get root access remotely unauthenticated. You know what that means? Okay, I click a button and I own your computer. What that means, okay? You have a patch. All right, there's a certain protocol that has, a vulnerability like heap spray or buffer overflow. I can remotely execute code into your PC. My phone? Yeah, sorry. And because you don't have that patch, I can remotely do that over any network as long as I can target your PC. So MSO 864, there's lots of these. Microsoft does one of these every 3 or 4 months, where they don't actually do that. People find them in public sector, but remote code execution vulnerabilities like that, right? So, get Metasploit. I will tell you to pay for this because this was done by somebody or people who are enthusiasts. But what is it? Metasploit Unleashed. Metasploit Unleashed is like a 200-page doc about how to go through Metasploit. Give you a bunch of tutorials, screenshots, how to break shit with Metasploit, right? You got to start somewhere, and the reality is there is no the reason why people don't get into information security just easily is because there is no curriculum where you just walk into one door and you go through 15 classes and they're like, you're a hacker. No one who was on that slide went to some school and got a degree that says I know information security. They went out, they proactively looked at stuff, and they broke into it, and they understand how it works. And it's a lot. So the word hacking, I'll just give my take on it. It's been abused. People don't, people who use that word like myself, people who actually are in the industry, it's actually a positive word. It's not intended to be malicious or evil or bad guys or anonymous and goofy masks and bullshit like that. Its original intent was about people who were enthusiasts about technology and wanted to understand how things work. It was just about intellectual curiosity, and there's a lot of other words for people who actually are malicious and want to do bad things, but yeah, and crackers, and a bunch of other terms. And unfortunately, the media loves to use the word hacker all the time, and everybody can be bad as a hacker. Have you seen the Twitter hack that happened yesterday or something? No, it wasn't really a hack. Somebody just social engineered some call center for a password. That's not really hacking. But you guys ever heard of the recent stuff with social engineering on accounts?
Anybody who's got their Nigerian prince email, right?
Hey, that's a good one. Right? Who's got the Nigerian prince email? Now they're doing I will kill you emails. That's like the new Nigerian prince variant. And they're like, did somebody not raise their hand on the Nigerian prince email?
I haven't personally received it. I haven't Gmail, so.
Yeah, they pretty much all come from the same few. They've been so there's a whole community on the web that basically tries to scrub out certain spammers. And a lot of them all come from the same place. So, yeah, that's why you probably don't see them in the last few years. But it's the whole, I'm a Nigerian prince, I need a few $100 and I will send you this massive check, and don't worry about the legalities or understanding of the details, but, you know, it's a money scheme, right? And there's hundreds of these all the time. They're just getting a lot more advanced, they're getting a lot more targeted. We call them spear fishing now, whale fishing, it's like, you know, directed at one specific person. But essentially there's all these hacks that are coming out in the media where it's like, oh, there's a guy in LA on the LA Times who basically used the same shitty password everywhere, and somebody called their Amazon account and basically had their birthday. I think Amazon only needs your birthday, maybe a phone number or something to authenticate their account. Said that they're that person with those pieces of information, changed their Amazon password, had that, basically reused that over and over and over again based on the places of defense. So, things about passwords don't do that. And other questions around how to get into it. I mean, the problem with getting into it is there is no I cannot give you a curriculum or a book that says, here, if you read these 5 books. There's some good books I can tell you about. Gray Hat Hacking, Hacking Exposed. You have a question, I'll get to you in a second. There's a ton of books. You can read some books that are just sort of like Ghost in a Wire by Kevin Mitnick. It's basically just the stories of his life. Kevin Poulsen has a book. He also went to jail. This is basically his story about going to jail. It's pretty interesting. Kevin Poulsen's awesome. He was the guy, the looking guy in the middle of the page. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, again, technical. Make sure. He was a phone freaker. We know what phone freaking is back in the day when you had all pod style modems and you know, you guys were alive in the 90s. You guys were just like watching party and shit. Back in the day when no one had VoIP and all phone systems were all just basically touch tone. And prior to that, you know, everything was based on tones and tonality. So you could send different tones